Two officers strutting into a courthouse, sunlight glinting off their badges. It's 8:15 a.m. in Paso Robles, and the air's already thick with that dry, sticky heat. Officers Derek Hansen and Kyle Mercer are walking into court like they own the place. Navy uniforms crisp, boots shining like they just got waxed, and these smug grins that scream, "We've done this before, and we always win." Derek's chewing a toothpick, leaning over to Kyle as they hit the courtroom doors. Judge Ramsey's on the bench. He mutters, "She's let us slide before." Kyle chuckles, adjusting his belt. "We'll be grabbing burgers by noon." Behind them, a couple of department reps trail along, looking more like props than actual support. See, the Paso Robles PD had a reputation. Complaints against cops, they'd vanish. Internal affairs, more like internal cover-ups. The unspoken rule was simple: keep it quiet, and the system's got your back. Inside Department to be, the courtrooms buzzing, locals, reporters, a few law students are packed in, whispering, watching. On one side, we've got Carlos Rivera, a 22-year-old college kid from San Luis Obispo. He's not some troublemaker. He's the guy who should be cramming for exams, not fighting for his life in court. His public defender, Sarah Kim, a sharp woman in her 30s, is flipping through notes like she's on a mission. She's seen the evidence, or what's left of it. A dashcam video with a convenient 36-second gap, right when Carlos got yanked out of his car and slammed onto the pavement. Derek and Kyle, they're sitting there, practically posing, like they're daring anyone to challenge them. Their movements are loud, confident, screaming, "We're untouchable." Transition to courtroom sketch-style graphics, showing a judge entering. Judge Ramsey sweeps in, robe flowing, and the room snaps to attention. "All rise," the bailiff calls, and we're off. The district attorney, a guy named Greg Sullivan, kicks things off with some bland talk about public trust and due process. It's safe, boring, and Derek whispers to Kyle, he's playing it soft, doesn't want this to blow up. Kyle smirks. "Just like we figured." Then Carlos takes the stand. Cut to reenactment of Carlos, nervous but steady, his mum gripping her purse in the background. The room gets quiet. His voice shakes a bit, but he holds it together. He tells the court he'd just finished a late shift at a gas station, driving home when he got pulled over for drifting. "Derek," he says, "dragged him out of the car without explaining why. They said I looked nervous, that I had weed. I didn't. I told them to search the car. They said they already did." Sarah asks, "Did they find anything?" "Yeah," Carlos says, "a baggie under my seat, but it wasn't mine. I clean my car every 2 days. I drive for Lyft on the side." The DA's cross-examination is weak, just poking at Carlos's job history, trying to get him to admit he's smoked weed before. But Carlos's story holds up. You can feel it in the room. No one expects this to go anywhere. The department's got a history of burying cases like this. The audience is already bracing for a recess, thinking this is just another misunderstanding. Cut to host back in studio, leaning forward, eyes wide. But then, Sarah Kim stands up and drops a bomb. "Your Honor, we'd like to call one more witness before the morning break." Derek raises an eyebrow. "This wasn't in the pretrial plan." Judge Ramsey nods. "Proceed." The courtroom door opens, and in walks a woman who changes everything. Reenactment. A tall black woman in her early 50s, grey suit, sharp as a blade, hair in a sleek twist, walking with a calm that makes the air feel heavier. Sarah gestures. "This is Ms. Vanessa Brooks." Derek scoffs under his breath. "Another civilian whining about bias." Kyle rolls his eyes. "Bet she's got a speech about systemic issues. Seen it a million times." But Vanessa doesn't head straight to the stand. She pulls a leather badge wallet from her blazer, hands it to the bailiff without a word. The bailiff looks at it, blinks, looks again. Vanessa turns to the judge and says, "Clear as day. My name is Vanessa Brooks, Director of the Los Angeles Field Division of the Drug Enforcement Administration." Freeze frame on the officers' faces, their smirks gone. The room feels like it just got hit with a shockwave. Derek shifts in his seat. Kyle's hand twitches on the bench. They're not in control anymore, and they know it. Back to courtroom reenactment, focusing on Carlos back on the stand. Before Vanessa testifies, Sarah wants Carlos to finish his story uninterrupted. Judge Ramsey agrees, and Vanessa steps aside, hands folded, letting the moment breathe. Carlos takes the stand again, and this time, the room's actually listening. "Take us back to that night," Sarah says, "before the stop, Flashback. Reenactment. Carlos driving, tired, streetlights flickering. It was March 12th, around 10:30 p.m., he says. I'd just dropped off a Lyft passenger near Templeton. I was beat, just trying to get home. I didn't notice I was being followed at first, just saw headlights. Then the lights flashed, and I pulled over right away. What happened next? Sarah asks. Carlos's voice drops. I rolled down my window. Officer Hansen came up, asked where I was coming from. I said work. He told me to get out. I asked why. He said I was acting shifty. I said I wasn't. Did he say why? He stopped you. He said I was swerving, but I wasn't. I have my own dash cam. It showed I stayed in my lane, but part of that video is gone now. Sarah looks at the judge. For the record, a 36-second chunk of the department's footage is missing. The DA tries to object, but the judge shuts it down. Carlos keeps going. They pulled me out, pushed me against the car. Officer Mercer searched me, then they tore through my car, tossing stuff out. Didn't say what they were looking for. 20 minutes later, they said they found a bag under the seat. He swallows hard. It wasn't mine. I'd vacuumed the car that morning. I keep it spotless for Lyft. The room's murmuring now. Carlos's mom is blinking back tears. Derek whispers to Kyle, kids playing it up. Kyle mutters, he's about to get crushed. D or no D, but Vanessa catches their words. She tilts her head just enough to let them know she hears them. Carlos finishes, they arrested me. No Miranda, no explanation, just cuffs. I called my mom from the station. She didn't even know where I was for hours. I got suspended from work. Lyft locked my account, and I had to borrow money for rent. Some friends didn't believe me. They thought I was hiding something. He exhales. But I wasn't, I swear. Back to host, pacing in studio, animated. The DA tries to poke holes, asking Carlos if he's ever smoked weed. Once, at a party 3 years ago, Carlos admits, but he wasn't driving. The DA lets it hang like it's a gotcha, but it's weak, and everyone knows it. Sarah wraps up, and the judge calls a quick 5-minute recess. Reenactment. Derek cracking his knuckles, Kyle smirking. Kids not clean, Derek says. They never are, Kyle replies. But Vanessa's still there, watching them, her calm like a blade. It's not just stillness, it's precision. Reenactment. Vanessa Brooks on the stand, courtroom hushed, her gray suit sharp under the lights. The courtroom's electric as Vanessa Brooks, the director, starts laying out the truth. Sarah Kim, Carlos's public defender, asks, how did the D get wind of these traffic stops? Vanessa's calm, but her words hit like thunder. Last November, my office got an anonymous letter. It had body cam stills from Officer Hansen and an unedited internal report with tampered timestamps. We launched a quiet investigation, which led to surveillance. Cut to graphics, a timeline showing traffic stops, red pins marking locations. Judge Ramsey leans forward. Are you saying this courtroom is part of an active D investigation? Yes, Your Honor, Vanessa says. We've been gathering evidence discreetly to avoid alerting suspects. The room buzzes. Derek shifts in his seat, his toothpick now still. Kyle's knee starts bouncing under the table, a nervous tick he can't hide. Sarah presses. What did your surveillance uncover? Vanessa opens a folder. We tracked Hansen and Mercer's patrol cars via GPS. Their routes didn't add up, detours to empty lots, unscheduled stops. We recovered deleted dash cam footage and digital logs that contradict their reports. Over 14 months, we found a pattern. Stop, search, arrest, then charges dropped weeks later. Host voiceover. This isn't just about Carlos anymore. It's a whole operation. Reenactment. Vanessa flipping through documents, the jury leaning in. Vanessa keeps going, her voice steady but cutting. We have statements from 2 former officers who left the Paso Robles PD. They described a toxic culture of cover-up. One saw Officer Mercer plant evidence in a suspect's glove box. He reported it, got reassigned 2 weeks later, and quit a month after that. The DA, Greg Sullivan, tries to interrupt. Your Honor, we haven't seen this evidence. Sarah claps back. You will when we submit it to the federal grand jury next week. Cut to host, in studio, wide-eyed. Yo. The DA's sweating now. The courtroom's dead silent. Vanessa turns to the judge. Your Honor, we held off on arrests to avoid disrupting this hearing, but warrants are being drafted for Hansen and Mercer on federal charges, obstruction, falsifying reports, and civil rights violations. Derek whispers to his lawyer. This can't be legal. Tell the judge it's fabricated. Kyle's muttering, they can't do this, they can't do this, but no one's listening to them anymore. The jury's scribbling notes, the reporters are practically falling over each other, and Judge Ramsey's eyes are locked on Vanessa. Vanessa doesn't flinch. I'm not here to make a scene. I'm here to expose a pattern, one protected by silence, uniforms, and authority. But authority doesn't excuse abuse. Not in my jurisdiction. Freeze frame on Derek and Kyle, their confidence crumbling. The room's not theirs anymore. Reenactment, Vanessa handing a timeline to the bailiff. Papers rustling. Sarah gives Vanessa the floor, and she doesn't waste it. She passes a document to the bailiff. This is a timeline of 11 incidents tied to officers Hansen and Mercer. All involved minority drivers, all followed the same playbook: traffic stop, non-consensual search, small amount of drugs found in an unsecured spot, then charges dropped after a defense attorney pushed back. Graphics, a chart showing the 11 cases, dates, and outcomes. Vanessa continues, when tested, none of the seized drugs had the defendant's fingerprints. Not once. That's statistically impossible. D-Labs flagged it, and that's when we dug deeper. Derek leans to his lawyer, voice low. She's bluffing. We followed chain of custody. But his lawyer's not so sure anymore. Vanessa glances at the jury. This wasn't sloppy. It was rehearsed, controlled. Then she drops the bombshell. On March 3rd, we got a tip about an unregistered warehouse off Kyla Canyon Road. Surveillance showed a marked cruiser visiting after hours. The building was storing off the books, evidence, drugs, cash, unregistered weapons, all in crates labeled for training. None matched active PD cases. Reenactment, grainy footage of Kyle unlocking a rusty warehouse door, looking over his shoulder. Kyle bolts upright. That's not what it looks like. Vanessa ignores him. We found no logs, no receipts, no documentation. Cut to host, pacing, hyped. Hold up, this gets crazier. Sarah steps up. Director Brooks, you mentioned surveillance. Did it include audio? Vanessa nods, pulling a USB drive from her bag. We placed an audio device in their cruiser after the second suspicious arrest in January. It recorded for 8 days, then again 2 weeks later. She looks at Kyle. You talked about keeping extra bags on hand just in case. You discussed where to stash stuff if you got pulled over. You even laughed about how no one would believe a nervous kid with weed in his sock. Derek's fingers tap the bench's only tell. Vanessa sets the USB on the judge's desk. It's sealed, logged, verified by 2 independent techs. Play it, and you'll hear their voices. The DA tries to object, but is floundering. Judge Ramsey shuts him down. We'll reassess for 1 hour. I expect full cooperation with evidence protocols. Gavel slams. Reenactment. The room erupts, whispers. Chairs scraping. Reporters sprinting for the hall. Derek and Kyle sit frozen. Their lawyers huddled around them, whispering frantically. Sarah packs her files. Calm as ever. Vanessa walks out the side door. Steady, like she's just getting started. Reenactment. Derek and Kyle in a break room. Tension thick. Behind closed doors. Derek's against the wall, arms crossed tight. Kyle's pacing, sweating through his uniform. I told you to stay away from that warehouse after hours. Derek snaps. Kyle fires back. You think I planted that camera? You think I knew the D was watching? Their lawyers are out talking to the DA, leaving them alone, and the silence between them is heavy. Back in the courtroom, Judge Ramsey returns early, calling everyone back 20 minutes ahead of schedule. Vanessa's at the stand, now with a laptop. This is a GPS log from February 9th, she says, showing the screen. It shows Hansen and Mercer's cruiser detouring 4 miles off their patrol route, matching where our tipster said they pre-planted evidence. Graphics, a map with a red line tracing the detour. Sarah asks, do these logs show a pattern? Yes, Vanessa says. Over 6 weeks, we saw repeated stops at abandoned lots, dead-end roads, and unregistered sheds, all tied to Hansen and Mercer, all within 30 minutes of arrests. All defendants were people of color. The jury's murmuring. Judge Ramsey raises a hand, letting it settle. Vanessa adds, these logs were collected under warrant, verified by a third-party analyst. It's all admissible. Derek and Kyle are back, but they're stiff, silent, not even looking at Vanessa anymore. The room knows something's shifted. Reenactment, courtroom tense, Vanessa Brooks at the stand. A speaker being set up. The courtroom's buzzing as Sarah Kim, Carlos Rivera's public defender, stands up. Your Honor, with permission, we'd like to play a segment of the DEA audio surveillance. Derek's lawyer jumps up. Objection. The defense hasn't reviewed or authenticated this. Judge Ramsey's not having it. Overruled. This was collected under a federal warrant and is part of the record. Proceed. Graphics, a waveform pulsing as audio plays. The bailiff connects Vanessa's USB drive, and after a quick static pop, Derek's voice crackles through. You see, that guy's eyes. He was gonna lose it before we even opened the door. Kyle laughs. Yeah, had that twitch. You can always tell when they're hiding something, even if they ain't. Derek again. I say we toss the sock trick, quick. Plant, nothing big. Keeps him scared. Cut to reenactment. Jury shifting. One juror looking sick. The clip ends with Kyle's voice. Hell, we're doing Em a favor teaching Em to keep their mouths shut next time. The room's frozen. Vanessa looks at the jury. That's not banter. That's practice. And it goes on for 42 more minutes. This is just one clip. Judge Ramsey asks, is this part of the sealed record? Yes, Your Honor, Vanessa says. I brought the full transcript. Reenactment, Derek and Kyle at the defense table. Tension rising. The audio hits. Like a wrecking ball. Derek turns to Kyle. Eyes sharp. He kept talking. I told you to shut it off. You forgot the damn mic. Kyle snaps back. You act like this was just me. We did this together. You planted more than I ever did. Cut to host in studio. Hyped. Yo, they're turning on each other in open court. The jury hears every word. Even Judge Ramsey's pen stops mid-scratch. Sarah doesn't need to say a thing. The cops are doing her job for her. Kyle blurts out, this is crap. She's spinning it. Judge Ramsey cuts in. Officer Mercer, one more outburst, and you're out of here. Kyle slumps, hands shaking. Vanessa leans forward, voice calm but piercing. These recordings matter, because they show what happens when silence protects power. This wasn't a one-off. It was a system inside the department, with officers who thought the badge made them untouchable. Derek whispers to his lawyer, we're not taking the fall for this. It goes higher. She knows it. Vanessa hears but doesn't react, her fingers just tightening slightly on the podium. Reenactment. Vanessa showing photos. The jury leaning in. Sarah steps up. Director Brooks, let's talk about that warehouse. What exactly did the DEA find? Vanessa nods, passing another photo to the bailiff. On March 3rd, we surveilled an unregistered facility off Kyler Canyon Road. Footage showed Officer Mercer entering multiple times after hours. Inside, we found crates of narcotics, cash, and unregistered weapons, none logged with the Paso Robles PD, all marked for training simulations, but no active cases tied to them. Graphics, a grainy still of Kyle at the warehouse door, timestamp glowing. Kyle's face goes red. That's not what it was. Sarah paces. So, Director Brooks, you're saying Hansen and Mercer weren't just misconducting, they were operating outside department protocol entirely? Yes, Vanessa says, and they weren't alone. But their patterns were consistent, same locations, same tactics. The DA tries to object, but his voice is weak, like he knows he's cornered. Judge Ramsey waves him off. Vanessa adds, we cross-referenced to the warehouse visits with arrest data. 11 stops happened within 30 minutes of those detours. All defendants were people of color. Cut to host. This is bigger than two cops. It's a whole operation, and Vanessa's got the receipts. Reenactment. Defense lawyers whispering. Derek and Kyle rigid. Derek's lawyer stands. Your Honor, given the new evidence, we request a delay to review everything presented. Sarah fires back. A delay just gives them time to tamper with records or pressure witnesses. Every second puts more people at risk. The DA, Greg Sullivan, stays quiet, his face blank. He knows this isn't just about two cops anymore. It's about lawsuits, federal oversight, his whole office on the line. Vanessa turns to the jury. You don't have to take my word for it. Look at the data, body cams, GPS, arrest patterns, paperwork inconsistencies. This case took months, built on whistleblowers, analysts, and community members who spoke up when they thought no one was listening. She pauses, eyes steady. I've seen corruption in bigger cities, across agencies, in international task forces. But what I saw here, it was racial profiling dressed up as protocol. power abused so casually. These men thought it'd never catch up. Reenactment. Jury nodding. A few jurors taking notes. Kyle leans forward, whispering to his lawyer. They've got audio, GPS, warehouse footage. What do we even fight? His voice carries, and the room feels it. He's breaking. Reenactment. A federal marshal entering, handing a note to the judge. Just as the tension peaks, the courtroom doors swing open. A federal marshal whispers to the bailiff, who passes a sealed envelope to Judge Ramsey. She reads it, folds it, and looks at Vanessa. Director Brooks, she says, I've been informed that federal arrest warrants for officers Hansen and Mercer have been signed as of 5 minutes ago. Graphics, a gavel slamming in slow motion. The room goes still. Judge Ramsey continues. Deputies, detain both defendants immediately. Reenactment. Deputies moving in, cuffs clicking. Derek stands, calm but defiant. Kyle freezes until the cuffs are on, his face twitching. As they're led out, Derek turns to Vanessa, voice low. You think this ends with us? Vanessa doesn't answer, just watches them go, her face unreadable. The door shuts with a heavy click, and the room exhales. Sarah turns to the judge. Your Honor, we request permission to present more on the department's culture. We need to know how Hansen and Mercer got away with this for so long. Judge Ramsey nods. Proceed. Cut to host. The cops are gone, but the real fight's just beginning. Vanessa Brooks back on the stand. Courtroom packed, tension thick. With Derek and Kyle gone, Sarah Kim, Carlos Rivera's public defender, shifts gears. Your Honor, she says, we need to examine the Paso Robles PD's internal culture to understand how officers Hansen and Mercer operated unchecked. Judge Ramsey nods. Proceed. Vanessa's tone changes, less clinical, more personal. Not every officer in that department was corrupt, she starts, but the good ones didn't stick around. They either transferred or quit. She holds up a document. This is a resignation letter from Elijah Carter, a 26-year-old rookie who joined the PD straight out of the Monterey Academy. Eager, honest, the kind of guy who called his mum after night shifts. Graphics, a scanned letter, Elijah Carter in neat handwriting. Vanessa reads, he wrote, I'm not quitting out of fear. I'm quitting because I refuse to be another bystander with a badge. Sarah asks, did Elijah report anything before he left? Yes, Vanessa says. He filed 2 complaints, one against Mercer, one against a sergeant who pressured him to alter a report after a traffic stop. Both were dismissed within a week. The department claimed the footage was inconclusive. We recovered it from Elijah's personal backup. It showed a clear contradiction. Cut to host in studio. Yo, they buried the truth to protect their own. Reenactment. Vanessa flipping through files. Jury listening intently. Vanessa keeps going. Elijah told us about code words used over the radio to flag easy targets. 13B meant nervous. 19R meant young male, likely alone. These weren't official codes, they were made up in how. Flashback reenactment. Kyle's voice from the audio had that twitch. You can always tell. Vanessa's voice hardens. They weren't just using shortcuts. They built a language for profiling, a routine. Judge Ramsey rubs her nose, processing the scale. Sarah asks, were there others like Elijah? Yes, Vanessa says. Officer Laura Mendoza spoke anonymously. She said the rule was clear. Back your partner, no matter what. Heaven, if it feels wrong, especially if it feels wrong. She transferred to Bakersfield 6 months later, said she couldn't sleep. Vanessa looks down, then up. I know that. Wait. I started in law enforcement at 22, the only black woman in my unit. I was stuck on traffic for 2 years. I saw things I couldn't process until I got promoted, got access, could investigate. I learned how easy it is to go numb, how the badge becomes armor against accountability, how silence becomes currency. Reenactment. A juror in the back sniffling, gripping a tissue. The room feels heavy, like everyone's holding their breath. Reenactment. Courtroom doors opening, a senior officer striding in. Just then, the doors swing open. A deputy announces, Lieutenant Nathan Burke requests to address the court. Judge Ramsey raises an eyebrow. On whose authority? His own, ma'am. She nods. Bring him in. Reenactment. Burke, crisp uniform, 19 years on the force, walks in like he's untouchable. He avoids Vanessa's gaze and faces the judge. Your Honor, I'm here to clarify that Hansen and Mercer acted on their own. Their actions, if true, are individual misconduct, not systemic failure. Sarah's on her feet. Is this testimony or damage control? Lieutenant Burke forces a smile. I'm here because our department's being dragged through the mud. Judge Ramsey's not impressed. If you're testifying, sit. If not, leave. Burke sits, reluctantly. Vanessa opens her folder. I anticipated this. She holds up a memo. This is from October, signed by Lieutenant Burke. It acknowledges 2 complaints against Hansen for excessive force. It ends, with no further action warranted. Sarah adds, we found 4 more memos with the same phrasing, all following unlawful searches. Burke stiffens. That's standard language. Legal Department's Guide, internal summaries. Vanessa cuts in, voice sharp. Then let's talk actions, not words. She pulls up a screen. This is a bodycam audit log from February of 24. Videos flagged for irregularities. 19 were from Hansen and Mercer. None were escalated for review. Burke tries to interrupt. We don't have resources to chase every minor flag. These weren't minor, Vanessa snaps. They were flagged for evidence tampering and missing timestamps. That's not accidental, and it's not ignored by accident. Cut to host. She's dismantling their whole system, piece by piece. Reenactment. Courtroom silent. Jury alert. Vanessa unwavering. Vanessa takes a breath. I'm not here for one traffic stop. I'm here because the Paso Robles PD built a culture where officers knew no one would stop them, not peers, not superiors, not internal affairs. Why? Because IA shared an office wall with the people they were supposed to investigate. Shared desks, shared coffee, shared silence. Judge Ramsey raises an eyebrow, intrigued. Burke's mouth twitches, but he stays quiet. Then the doors open again. A federal marshal steps in, whispers to the bailiff, and hands Judge Ramsey a sealed envelope. She reads it, folds it, and speaks. Lieutenant Burke, a federal subpoena has been issued for all internal complaint files from the past 5 years, including those archived without review. Burke's eyes flicker, just once. Understood, Your Honor. He stands, smooths his uniform, and walks out without another word. Sarah breaks the silence. Your Honor, we've seen enough to know this isn't just a case, it's a reckoning. Judge Ramsey doesn't disagree. We'll break until tomorrow morning. Court adjourned. Gavel hits reenactment. Reporters surge toward Vanessa, but she slips out a side door. Controlled. Cut to host in studio. Pacing. Animated. Outside. The courthouse is chaos. Reporters shouting. Phones buzzing. But Vanessa's already gone, moving like she's not here to be the story, just to finish it. Back at the Paso Robles PD, things are unraveling. Graphics. A news ticker reading PD. Chief calls emergency meeting. Phones are confiscated. Internal affairs is scrambling. And the mayor's office drops a vague statement. We support accountability and await federal findings. Translation. They're ducking for cover. Meanwhile, Carlos Rivera and his mom are in a car, driving away. No press. No drama, just relief. Reenactment. Carlos exhaling. His mom patting his hand. This isn't over, but for now, they're breathing easier. Vanessa, she's not celebrating. She's back in LA prepping for the next fight. Reenactment. Vanessa in a quiet office, files stacked high. She knows catching 2 bad cops is one thing, taking down the system that protected them, that's the real courtroom packed, every seat taken. Early morning light streaming in. It's 8 a.m., and the Paso Robles courthouse is buzzing like never before. People who've never set foot in a courtroom are lined up outside, hoping to witness history. Derek and Kyle are gone, federal detainees now, awaiting arraignment in Bakersfield. Their lawyers didn't even show up. The air feels lighter, like a storm's finally breaking. Vanessa Brooks slips in through a side entrance, coat open, no badge on display. She doesn't need it today. Sarah Kim's beside her, reviewing notes, calm but ready. Judge Ramsey takes the bench, sharper than ever. Reenactment. Judge Ramsey addressing the room, voice crisp. The court has reviewed the DEA's evidence, audio, GPS, whistleblower testimony, and internal records. The defense has failed to refute the material presented. This court finds officers Hansen and Mercer in breach of civil and constitutional rights. This case is referred for full federal prosecution, with recommended charges including falsification of evidence, abuse of power, and conspiracy under color of law. Graphics. A gavel slamming. Text overlay. Federal charges recommended. The gallery rumbles. Carlos's mum covers her mouth, tears in her eyes. Carlos doesn't smile or cry. He just closes his eyes, exhaling slow and long. Judge Ramsey turns to him. Mr. Rivera, the charges against you are dismissed in full. Your record will be sealed and expunged. You are free to go. Reenactment. A whisper of applause starts, then fades, heavy with meaning. Carlos stands. Sarah pats his shoulder, no words. Just a quiet nod that says, "You made it." Cut to host in studio leaning forward, serious. As Carlos and his mum leave, reporters swarm outside, shouting questions. Reenactment. Carlos and his mum slipping into a car. No press conference, no victory lap, just peace. They drive off, and, for the first time in months, they're not looking over their shoulders. Inside, Vanessa stays seated until the last juror leaves. Judge Ramsey speaks to her directly. Director Brooks, this case will be watched closely. Every move, leaks, press releases will be under a microscope. Vanessa nods, voice steady. That's fine. I didn't start this to be comfortable. The judge studies her, then says quietly, neither did I. Reenactment. Vanessa leaving through a back exit, cameras swinging her way, but getting nothing. Across town, the Paso Robles PD is in chaos. Graphics, news ticker, chief calls, emergency meeting, phones confiscated. Internal Affairs is digging through years of files. And the mayor's office drops a weak statement. We support accountability and await federal findings. Translation. They're scrambling. Reenactment. Vanessa, driving south to LA City. Lights fading into the distance. Vanessa doesn't do interviews. Instead, she heads to Oxnard, to a small one-story home owned by Carlos's grandmother. Flashback. Carlos mentioning her in prep. She raised me, makes tamales every Sunday. Vanessa knocks, and an elderly woman in a housecoat answers, cautious but curious. Reenactment. Vanessa smiling gently. I just wanted to say thank you for raising a boy who never stopped telling the truth. The woman pauses, then opens the door wider. A pot simmers inside. Vanessa stays for tea. No cameras, no agenda, just a moment of real connection. Cut to host. That's what this is about, not headlines, but people. Back in LA, Vanessa sits on a bench outside the federal building, holding a yellow envelope. Reenactment. Traffic humming. A breeze carrying voices. Inside are the final montes. Hearing transcripts and a request for a federal oversight. Inquiry into the Paso Robles PD. The DOJ greenlit it that morning. Full audit. Interviews, financials, surveillance reviews. Her work's on record now. Reenactment. A young man walks by, hoodie up, earbuds in. Vanessa watches, wondering how many like him have been stopped, profiled, silenced. Justice isn't just catching the guilty, it's protecting those who never should have been targets. Cut to host in studio, animated, pointing at a map. The case is sparking waves. Graphics, news headlines. Paso Robles PD under federal scrutiny. Vanessa's back home in her Santa Paula apartment, feeding her dog, sorting mail, flipping through case notes. She pulls out a torn paper with a quote from Elijah Carter's resignation letter. Systems don't change when you catch the bad ones. They change when the good ones stop staying quiet. Reenactment. Vanessa tucking the note away, eyes steady. She's not done. The next morning, she speaks at a local community college, invited by Sarah. Reenactment. Vanessa in front of 21 students, all ages, all listening. I'm not here to tell you to be a hero, she says. I'm here to say silence, especially when it's easy, is dangerous. She tells them about Carlos, the